In the more than 10 years since NFL Films has been producing the Greatest Game series, we've had one glaring omission. The Dolphins-Raiders 1974 playoff game had it all. High stakes, Hall of Fame talent, great drama, and one of the most unforgettable finishes in NFL history. Now for us, the game also had one embarrassing problem. When we moved the company from Philadelphia to Mount Laurel, the footage was either misplaced or mislabeled. Whatever it was, we just couldn't find it. I'm happy to report that a recent search into the deepest crevices of our archives uncovered quite a treasure. The game, known as the Sea of Hands, has been found. So, long overdue, I present the 1974 AFC Divisional Playoff game between the Raiders and Dolphins. Unquestionably, one of the NFL's greatest games.
What a game it's been. What a game it has been. Montana moves his pass. Caught by Clark. Clark got a touchdown.
Touchdown Miami. Holy Toledo. What an opener. And he makes a diving catch at the 30. He gets up. Nobody's touching. I have only one adjective to describe that sequence. Awesome.
Fading, looking. He's under the gun. Body throws.
The first game of the 1974 AFC playoffs was billed as Super Bowl 8½. The Miami Dolphins, winners of Super Bowls 7 and 8, faced the leading contender to win Super Bowl 9, the league's self-proclaimed bad boys, the Oakland Raiders.
You gonna have any fights this week? No. No fights? No fights. Oh man, we gotta have some fights.
The autumn wind is a pirate, blustering in from sea. With a rollicking song, he sweeps along, swaggering boisterously. His face is weather-beaten. He wears a hooded sash with a silver hat about his head and a bristling black mustache. He growls as he storms the country, a villain big and bold, and the trees all shake and quiver and quake as he robs them of their gold. The autumn wind is a raider, pillaging just for fun. He'll knock you round and upside down and laugh when he's conquered and won.
The Raiders' nasty play produced a record number of penalties, but also a staggering amount of victories. They finished the 1974 regular season 12-2, the best record in the league.
Everyone refers to the Raiders as the bad guys. Are you?
Yeah, and I like that image. I think a lot of our players like the image. You know, we wear black. You see the cowboy movie, and the guy has a black hat and a white hat. The white hat's usually the good guy, and the black hat's the bad guy. And that's the way you have to play to win, and that's the way we play.
At the start of 1974, running backs Larry Zonka, Jim Kick, and receiver Paul Warfield announced this would be their last season with Miami. At the end of the year, they would be leaving for the World Football League.
And we get nothing back in return. It was never quite the same after that. You know, they were lame duck players that year, and everybody knew that they were going to be leaving after that. So, you know, we just didn't have that same team unity that we had prior to their deciding to make the decision to leave.
I don't believe there was any change in the chemistry at all. Those are three wonderful players. They gave everything there was to give, as you had to for Coach Shula.
In the final season, before three of their stars became Memphis Grizzlies, the Dolphins finished the regular season 11-3, the second best mark in the league.
Yes, it was the last hurrah. I also was hoping, I think we were all hoping, that we could go out big.
The Dolphins' road back to the Super Bowl would not be easy. Since playoff matchups were determined by division and not by record, the number 2 finisher drew the league's best in the first round.
Our main goal is to get to and win the Super Bowl, and we knew that in order to do that, we were going to have to, or we'll have to beat Miami. And whether it's the first game or the second game, it really doesn't make any difference. They're the world champions.
This meeting would take place in Oakland Coliseum. The Raiders had the home field, but felt the Dolphins had another advantage: their very successful and highly influential head coach.
Don Shula being on the competition committee made it extra hard, and it was always like the referees would get an extra pat on the back if they called something, and Don Shula liked it.
The Raiders were the most penalized team in football because they played dumb football. It wasn't because Don Shula was on the competition committee.
The Raiders liked the idea that people were picking on them or that they stood out in the crowd. And, of course, that just motivated Shula even more. I mean, he was motivated just probably the time that he first blinked his eyes on this planet.
I don't think that anything good ever comes out of losing. That's my attitude. That's the attitude of our football team.
Up next, 2 AFC giants, 2 Hall of Fame coaches, and a dozen Hall of Fame players square off in a game for the ages. The 1974 AFC Divisional Playoff between the Miami Dolphins and the Oakland Raiders, and the Sea of Hands, one of the NFL's greatest games. Before the Raiders' showdown with the 2-time Super Bowl champions, the atmosphere at Oakland Coliseum was electric.
That stadium was always a crazy cauldron to play in. It just brought out the kooks. As intimidating a venue that you would play in the NFL, they embraced that renegade biker culture of the Oakland Raiders. In many ways, the Raiders were Oakland, and Oakland was the Raiders.
Raider Nation wanted payback for Oakland's lopsided defeat in the 1973 AFC Championship game, where the home Miami fans celebrated by waving white hankies.
I remember the press that week telling everybody wear black underwear, girls bring in your black bras, your black panties, guys bring in black towels. We got introduced. And I looked up in the stands and I saw the bras, I saw the underwear, the place was black.
There's nothing to wait for. Let's start off and stay after the whole game. Let's go!
So we're pumped up. I mean, Miami was, the best team in football and all this thing, and everyone has a black hanky, and everyone's waving, and everyone's standing there. And I thought, great, we kick off, we'll kick them in the hole.
Here's the sidewinding kick, high end over end, not real deep, drifting up. Moore takes it on the 11. The rookie up to the 15, to the 20, to the 25, 30. Clears out to the left, the 35, 40. Gets a great block, the 50. Up the left side, being chased by Djokovic, the 30, the 20, the 15, the 10. Touchdown, Miami! Holy Toledo! What an opener!
They score before the people even sit down. People were still standing up from the national anthem, and the score was 7-0. I said, holy moly.
John kind of looked at me, and I kind of looked at John, and John said it's going to be a long day.
89 yards, not more for the kickoff return, and Miami leads 6-0. As he broke through at around the 30 to 35-yard line, he wheeled out to the left and found the lane, and Djokovic could not catch it.
Being a rookie and my first playoff game and having a chance to make an impact in the game right away was so special. Just one of those plays where everything just opens up for you, and all I really had to do was run.
The Raiders have not had a run back like that against them all year on a kickoff. And so the Miami Dolphins lead the Raiders 7-0 with only 15 seconds of this football game having elapsed.
You got to get a score. It's going to be number one. You got to play like you're number one.
The Raiders tried to answer Moore's score by establishing leading rusher Marv Hubbard. After 4 runs netted 13 yards, Kenny Stabler called his first pass play.
Stabler drops back for his first pass of the day. He looks. He throws upfield in the middle of the zone. It's deflected. It is intercepted by Anderson at the 30-yard line. Up to 35. Back to the 40, middle of the field, the 45. He's dropped down at the 48. Bob Matheson deflected the pass in front of Branch, and Anderson behind Branch made the catch. There were 4 men in that area of the zone.
It's a dumb throw. I try to force one in there to Cliff, and somebody gets a hand on it, tips the ball up. Dick Anderson picked it off.
At the end of Anderson's return, the Dolphins' great safety, Jake Scott, was clipped by his own man and injured his knee.
So going from a happy moment and one of, good, we've got a chance to get down and score and make it 14-0. All of a sudden, my partner of many years is not going to play the rest of the game, and the elation was gone pretty quick.
I played in that game with ripped and shredded cartilage in my left knee and a completely separated shoulder. One of my arms was strapped down to my side. I could move it up about that far, just barely. It was actually held by a chain.
We had a lot of people banged up, including myself. We had been a Super Bowl team. We're coming up on the 4th year of going 4 years straight. That takes a toll.
Zonka's primary partner in the backfield, Mercury Morris, was out with a knee injury. The absence of Morris meant Zonka would have to shoulder an even greater load in the Dolphins' run-oriented offense.
Our game plan was, hey, don't let Zonka get going. So what we did was we kind of overplayed the off tackle and up the middle. Because on our field, Larry Zonka would be a no factor on a sweep because it was naturally wet, soggy. He probably didn't have the speed to sweep, but he was so powerful up the middle.
They give it to Zonka. He's hit by Villapiano and just breaks right through him. Bill hit him and he went 3 yards with Villapiano hanging on. He's just like a big workhorse shaking off a couple of gnats.
The Raiders stopped Zonka to set up 3rd and long. The Dolphins then called their first pass play.
Now back to pass, Greasy setting up. Looks deep, going to Warfield behind the defense, and he is incomplete. He was cut down by double teaming on the goal line. The Dolphins are angry. They're screaming over there that it was pass interference. For a moment, Warfield broke between the 2 defenders and got behind them. He tripped over Jack Tatum, who was back there to help out Nehemiah Wilson.
The Raiders' defense had survived the scare. Oakland's offense then hoped to strike fear into Miami by throwing a bomb to outspoken wide receiver number 21, Cliff Branch.
Cliff Branch had great speed. I mean, he could have been the fastest player in the NFL at the time. And Cliff always wanted to run deep patterns. And he could always beat his guy deep.
I think I can get that post in there now, because I can run by him and they're taking like I'm going to come across on that post.
When he was a young player, he would maybe in the 3rd quarter say, hey, coach, I can beat my guy deep. And then after a few years, it'd be in the 2nd quarter. And after he'd played for 5 or 6 years, the national anthem just finished, and he was right next to me and said, coach, I can beat my guy deep. I said, Cliff, we haven't even played it down yet. How do you even know who your guy is?
Cliff started yelling for the ball before he got his jock on. Kenny, I got this guy, I own this guy, throw me the ball. You always like to get Cliff the ball early in the game because it settles him down.
Stabler's first attempt to get Branch the ball was thrown into a crowd and intercepted. His second try would be deep along the sideline with Branch in single coverage.
Back to pass goes Stabler. He's 0 for 1. There's a long pass intended for Branch up the left side against Johnson. He can't hold on. At the 33-yard line, left sideline, Johnson looked like he might have a beat on it all the way. Branch suddenly spurted a step past him, but couldn't hang on to the pass.
Cliff just in the beginning, he had a lot of drops. And I'll never forget that one right in front of our bench, bounced off his hand. I'm like, oh no, what else can go wrong?
On 3rd and 9, the Dolphins' famed no-name defense stopped the speedy Branch in his tracks.
Back to pass. They pick up the rush. There's a pass to Branch, and he drops it to 49, short of the first down. Good tackle by Charlie Babb, who is in the secondary now. Babb replaced Jake Scott. And the Raiders are going to punt here with a 4th and 1.
The game was less than 10 minutes old, but so far, very little had gone right for the Raiders. The Dolphins had the early lead, but injuries had changed the makeup of their bench. With Mercury Morris out and Larry Zonka not at full strength, little-known running back Benny Malone was pressed into service, much to the Raiders' surprise.
We didn't know anything about Benny Malone, and I wish we did.
Benny Malone had a monster day, and he ran with an ant-stomping running style. Very unique. I don't think I've ever seen it anywhere else. A long strider, and he'd go heel to toe, heel to toe.
Malone finished the game with 83 yards and averaged almost 6 yards per carry. The Dolphins weren't the only team playing shorthanded that day. Perhaps the Raiders' best defensive player, Hall of Fame cornerback Willie Brown, was out with an illness.
I was in the hospital at that time watching the game, and I'm sitting there twisting and turning and just couldn't believe what was going on in that game at the time.
Brown's absence meant the Raiders would be relying on veteran cornerback Nehemiah Wilson to cover either Nat Moore or Hall of Fame receiver Paul Warfield.
They played a lot of man coverage. That was the legacy of the Raider defense. We're going to lock you down man-to-man. And so in the process, it gave us some opportunity to hit some plays.
Moore makes the catch at the 48 of the Raiders, down to the 40, and upended by Nehemiah Wilson at the 38, just inside the sideline, 1st and 10. Now, Greasy nibbling away at the Raider defense.
Willie Brown's not there. Let's go with this guy. And we try to give help, but you can't give us so much help when you're playing man-to-man across the board.
On 3rd down, Bob Greasy again went after Nehemiah Wilson, who this time was lined up against Warfield.
Greasy setting up with protection. He throws, batted down by Nehemiah Wilson, cutting in front of Warfield at the 25. Nehemiah, fine play on Warfield, the great veteran.
After another defensive stand in their own territory, the Raiders' offense finally got on track.
Stabler on a play fake, back to pass, rolls out to the left, goes back inside to Bolitnikov. He makes the catch at the 35, trying to peel back. He was dropped by Matheson at the 32. Fred was looking for a little running room, made a semicircle, and he had the first down, and by running backward and getting tackled, may have lost it.
Now we're seeing something we haven't seen with Kenny Stabler most of this year. He is rolling out of there. He's not going straight back. Now, during a good part of this season, Kenny had problems with his knees and did not want to do that. Today, Kenny is rolling. He had lots of time that time, a moving pocket.
To the left is Stabler. Now he steps up. Fires one to Hubbard over the middle at the 40. Hubbard head down. Brown breaks the tackle to the 45. Stopped by Matheson. Back him back! Roll him over! He knocked Mike Tolan head over heels. He really slammed him. Stabler just lobbing a little pass to Hubbard on an early release over the middle. Hand off to Davis. Davis skitters past the line of scrimmage to the 50 to the 45. Still on his feet at the 40. Got down from behind at the 37-yard line by Curtis Johnson. 1st and 10 Oakland. Their first penetration of the day into Miami real estate. Hubbard was out in front to lead the blocking that time to let Davis slide by the line of scrimmage and get out there where he could fly. Anderson missed him before he was brought down by Curtis Johnson.
Two more Raider runs set up 3rd and 5 at the Dolphins' 31. With the goal line just a long throw away, Oakland turned to veteran halfback and pass-catching specialist number 23, Charlie Smith, for one of his only plays of the game.
Through game film and through study, you know, we had recognized the fact that when Charlie would take an inside release inside the tight end and go down the middle of the field, that Nick Bonacani would pick him up. Well, Nick Bonacani covering Charlie Smith is a mismatch, and that was something that we looked for.
It's Tingley time at the Coliseum in Oakland. Miami leading 7-0. It's 3rd and 5.5. On a quick count, Stabler drops straight back, sets up, pumps, lobs one down the middle for Smith. Touchdown Raiders! The crowd comes apart at the singing as Charlie Smith catches one from 32 yards down the middle.
I was running with him, and I was basically step for step, and Stabler just throws the most perfect pass, and I could still see the ball literally going over my fingertips into his hands for a touchdown. I mean, it was just, it was a thing of beauty.
After the Raiders tied the game at 7, the Dolphins tried to get back ahead by running behind their great offensive line.
Hand off to Malone, explodes up the middle, still on his feet at the 45, and he's stopped at the 47. A double-team effort by the safeties, Atkinson and Tatum. Malone, who can fly once he gets by that line of scrimmage, that's a first down, as Malone really chewed it up that time for 11 yards.
Six consecutive carries brought the Dolphins inside Oakland's 30, where they faced 3rd and 5.
He fires over the middle. He's got Chick. He's got the first down on the 24. Connors had him covered, but Chick made the catch. Connors dropped him in his tracks. Just slanting out from the backfield, turning and waiting for the quick, greasy release. So the Dolphins come up with the right play, and now they're getting within field goal range.
The Dolphins stayed in the air and nearly broke open the game.
Back goes Greasy, setting up, got time. He's going deep to Moore, man falls, but he is underthrown. Skip Thomas fell on the 5 when Moore made his cut.
It was a play that we had a shot at opening the game up. They're able to hit Bob just as he's releasing the football, but then the corner fell down, and then I had trouble trying to get back to the ball because the footing was so bad. I mean, if I'm able to get back to the football, I'm able to make the catch and probably still get up and crawl into the end zone for a touchdown. So it just shows you how critical the footing was in that ball game. I mean, you know, there were numerous plays where, because the field was so wet and you couldn't get good traction, people were falling down all over the place.
It was strange that it was a wet field, and you know, that was the only rain or wet spots around, so you had to figure something happened.
Let's see. Field conditions when you play against Madden. A lot of argument about that. Wonder why. We go out, there's a dry season, but the field is a bog. You know, like, wait a minute. Could they be trying to slow our fast wide receivers down because they're a little hurt in the backfield, in the secondary?
Our field was always wet, and it's below sea level, and we never watered it. But they wanted to believe that we did, but it didn't make sense. I mean, I have Cliff Branch out there, who's the fastest guy in football. Why would I want to slow down the game?
I just know that if you go in there and you don't have the proper equipment, you're going to slip and fall all over the place, but somehow or another the Raiders usually had the right equipment and they can stand up.
So It was one of those things that you defend it. No, we don't. It's below sea level.
You know, mad and get all, I didn't get it, but somebody did.
So after a while, I just said, okay, if they want to believe that, I'll just tell them, okay, we did it. They never watered anything. But if he wanted to believe that we watered it, I'll tell him we watered it.
Following the incompletion to Moore, the Dolphins faced 3rd and long.
If they were to kick right now a field goal, it would be about 47 yards. Now he takes the snap, drops back into the pocket, setting up, lots of time, nobody open. Now he's going to run. Now he hesitates. Now he comes back to the right. He's still running. He finally unloads it behind the line of scrimmage to Nottingham. He's at the 25, at the 20. He drives down to the 16-yard line, short of the first down. Skip Thomas and Connors got him. Reese extricated himself from a difficult situation. Looking left, looking right. The Raiders had everything covered, but Nottingham came back to the area where Greasy had retreated to the right, made the catch, had found some running room, and now Yepremian is in for the possible three-pointer, and he's surely got a better shot at it than he would if they'd have been able to sack Greasy. It'll be marked and spotted at the 24-yard line. We're down to 1:13 to go.
I don't want that guy throwing the ball. We're not getting a rush in it. We're not getting to the quarterback. He's standing back here like this. You guys are not even getting in there. Come on, Trump.
And anytime they complete a pass, they hold it. Oh, yeah, they hold it. You see them going back. They cannot pass protect unless they hold it.
So it'll be a 34-yard attempt on the little left-footed Cypriot. Snap, spot, the kick on the way. It is good. And so from 34 yards, Garo Yepremian unties this football game.
Kenny Stabler and the Raiders mounted one last drive before the half. But a Vern Den Herter sack ended the threat. The first half ended with the Dolphins leading 10-7. In the locker room before the start of the second half, the Raiders set up plays for Fred Biletnikoff. The Hall of Fame receiver could eat up a secondary, but had trouble digesting anything else.
There would be a couple of minutes before we were to go out in the field, and Fred would be throwing up in the bathroom, and everyone could hear it because, you know, it's so quiet in a locker room. And then, you know, you didn't have to have a watch, you didn't have to look at anything. When Fred threw up, we were ready to go.
Nobody's treated themselves worse than Fred Biletnikoff. Freddie could not eat. Freddie puked all the time.
I would tell our center, Jim Otto, if Freddie catches a ball, go right to the official and tell him we need a new ball. Because you couldn't throw the ball after Freddie caught it.
His puke would be stuck to his stickum that was on his socks. The man did not take care of himself at all. But he was a great receiver.
Freddie never said a word. I mean, Freddie was kind of a jumpy type of lifestyle. You know, you could walk up behind Freddie and clap your hands, and he'd stick to the roof like a cat. I could outrun him. He was not fast. He was not big. He was not strong. But he made the Hall of Fame, and he was just a great, great money ball player.
Down by 3 against the two-time defending champions, Biletnikoff once again delivered in the clutch.
Stabler play fakes, back to pass with time to throw. He fires one, and Fred's got at the 45, down to the 40. He's hit, and he's dropped at that point.
Kenny during the season might be a little lazy on those throws, but not in this game and not on that one. He really pegged that. I've never seen him throw that ball with more velocity than he did that time.
Just outside the 40, Stabler fired to Biletnikoff deep.
Fully back it into the air. Biletnikoff makes the catch, but he's out of bounds. Holy Toledo, what a play. Falling and Biletnikoff between the 5 and the goal line went up. Only got a piece of the ball. It caromed into the end zone. Biletnikoff followed it and caught it, but was ruled to have been out of bounds on the play. Bolitny caught perhaps 6 inches of the front part of his left foot out of bounds. We looked at that on the replay. It was an excellent call. What a play that would have been had Fred been able to keep that left foot 6 inches further in, but it was impossible.
After 2 runs brought the Raiders inside the Dolphins' 15, the time had once again come for Bolitnikoff to show off his sticky fingers.
Ball on the 13, 2nd and 10. Stabler back, looks left, throws right. Bolitnikoff, a leaping pass, touchdown! With Tim Foley all over it. Stabler did a good job of looking off the defense, but the ball, which was actually deflected once off Bolitnikoff's hands when Foley contested it, and the right sideline in the end zone was grabbed back by Fred as Foley kept his pressure on, landed on top of him.
I played 15 years, and it's the best catch that I've ever seen. Tim Foley is draped on him like a cheap suit, and he grabs his right arm, and he pulls his right arm behind him, and they got their legs all tangled up, and Freddie leans out and one-hands the ball and brings it back in and still gets both feet in. Phenomenal, phenomenal catch. But again, there's that Hall of Fame player who always plays well in big money ball games. There he is doing it.
Taking the lead on a 13-yard strike from Stabler to Bolitnikoff. As Fred is giving a clinic out here today. For the first time, the Oakland Raiders lead the Miami Dolphins. I'm out on the field. 8:05 left. We're in the 3rd quarter. Scoreboard shows Oakland 14, Miami 10.
Trailing for the first time in the game, the Dolphins quickly began marching for the go-ahead score.
Back to pass goes to Gracie. He looks, he's going deep to man to do more. Way down the left side. It goes through his hands at the 5-yard line. Moore got behind Skip Thomas. Or he can fly. And Skip Thomas lost a little bit to him at the 5. Moore had the daylight. The ball went through his hands, and Greasy put it as much on the money as any man could ever hope to do.
I was a half a step too slow. I mean, it was a good throw by Bob. You know, he put it out there where only I can get it. It was just off my fingertips. And, you know, probably one of those plays where if I had to do it all over again, I would have laid out and tried to make the catch. Instead, I tried to run through the ball. Just a misjudgment on my part. I think Bob made an outstanding throw.
The incompletion set up one of the game's crucial plays.
3rd and 7. Big play again. Backpedaling his Gracie into the pocket. He looks, he's got time. He's going deep up the right side. Villapiano covering and thrown for pass interference. The ball was thrown 5 yards away from the receiver. Kick. Villapiano protesting his cause to no avail.
Well, Jimmy Kick, being the pro that he was, he rams into me, hooks my arm with his arm. I'm like, what's he doing? And then the ref threw the flag. And then I got it. He made like I smashed into him, grabbed him, and threw him down. But I didn't do it. That referee, I could have tore his head off for falling for it.
Raiders have been penalized 59 yards to Miami's 15, and there could be the pivotal play of the game. And the Raider defense really on the spot now.
Shula took advantage of Villapiano's penalty and called a deep pass to Paul Warfield, matched up against backup Nehemiah Wilson.
Here comes the rush. He rifles it. A man falls all alone. Warfield makes the catch for a touchdown for Miami.
Paul Warfield kind of did a little move to the corner, and Nemo, he slipped and gave him an easy touchdown. Which, it was looking pretty bad for Phil at that time.
Falling was Nehemiah Wilson as Warfield made his corner pattern move into the deep left corner of the end zone. All Greasy had to do is keep from falling down or having a heart attack. He could have thrown the ball into the air anywhere in an area of 8 or 10 yards, and Warfield could have run under it, and Greasy lobbed it up to make sure that he gave him room. And so, Paul Warfield, the man who so often gets free to break the heart of opponents, did so this time when Wilson slipped on the cut.
The Raiders' first lead of the game had lasted just 80 seconds. Garo Yepremian's extra point attempt was blocked. Midway through the third quarter, the Dolphins' lead was 2. The Dolphins' defense, without injured safety Jake Scott, appeared to be getting stronger as the game progressed. Ahead by 2, with just over a quarter to play, the unit once again displayed the grit of a champion and smothered the Raiders on the next 2 possessions.
Saber gonna pass. He's back. He's looking. He's in trouble. He's dropped by Larry Ball. Back on the 22-yard line. Saber suffers a sacking, and the Raiders run into all sorts of trouble with a Dolphin defense that is suddenly stabilized.
You know, we got to get some yards on the ground. We don't have 50 yards on the ground, you know?
With another touchdown, the Dolphins had a chance to put the Raiders away.
Greasy dropping back to pass. Looks, fires quickly up the left side. Warfield makes the catch and gets out of bounds on the 36. The Raiders had a rotating zone that time, and he went right into the area, and he made the catch at the 36.
Miami returned to the run, but the Raiders' defense held its ground. After a stop set up 3rd and 3 inside Oakland's 30-yard line, the Dolphins tried again to isolate Paul Warfield on Nehemiah Wilson.
It's important to the Raiders that they curtail this drive to no more than 3 points for the Dolphins. They get an 8-point lead, then they've got themselves a good situation. Warfield to the left, Moore to the right. Now he takes it, drops straight back. He looks, he throws to Warfield and drops the ball on the 20-yard line.
3rd and 3, and we put the call on, and we get the coverage we want. Paul Warfield comes wide open. Greasy gets him the ball, and Paul drops the football, which is, you know, you just can't believe it happened.
Was he looking back? I'd give that to his secondary.
He had some help from Nehemiah Wilson that time, who hit him hard at the moment of contact on that short out pattern. And now, with the ball on the 28-yard line, they're going to attempt a field goal from the 36. It is good. His longest field goal of the year, 46 yards. And time is out on the field with 11:50 to go in the ball game. Scoreboard showing Miami 19, Oakland 14. The Raiders ready to operate, but in their last 2 possessions, they have not been able to get it going. After the one drive in the early 3rd quarter that took them to the touchdown and the lead.
Don Shula and the Dolphins were edging closer to their 7th straight postseason victory. The Raiders, in desperate need of a drive, instead went 3 and out for the 3rd time in 5 possessions. The game and the season appeared to be slipping from the Raiders' grasp.
Third and long, almost 10. Stabler back. Sets up a screen to Davis. Davis 35-40. Hesitates, runs into Anderson, who stops him. Anderson stops him at the 47, 2 yards short of the first down. And so Ray Guy comes on with a punting team. Davis couldn't get quite enough room to make the burst.
With the game drawing to its conclusion, the Dolphins likely needed one more score to finish the Raiders off.
Oakland's in big trouble now, Bill, because the Dolphins in the last two series have been able to do what they do best, as you pointed out, and that's maintain ball control. Oakland down by 5 points. Under 10 minutes to go now in the ball game, and the Dolphins looking very, very strong at this juncture.
Believing their lead was safe, the Dolphins were content to eat up the clock and ran on 7 of 8 plays.
Well, we kept it on the ground because that was really our strength. And especially with that lead, we felt it was important to run some time off the clock and hang on to the football, keep it away from their offense, and utilize the talents that we had.
With just over 5 minutes left, the Raiders forced 3rd and 8 just outside midfield.
This is the kind of a defensive stop now that the Raiders have to have here to force that punt, get their hands on the football. 3rd and 8.
Don Shula remained conservative and kept the ball on the ground.
Greasy gives the ball to Malone. Power sweep to the right. He's got Bronson Little in front. It's the 50 front down. Short of the first down on the 47-yard line.
Shula's willingness to punt the ball back to Stabler rather than try for more points did not sit well with the Raiders.
Kenny Stabler was the best going into the 3rd, 4th quarters. He called his own plays. He had everything set up from the first half. He knew exactly what he wanted to do. Yeah, that was disrespect. And disrespect to our defense, thinking that they could run it on us. You know what I mean? It's like, hey, we're Miami. We'll run this thing. You know, no.
So the Dolphins forced to punt as Seipel comes into the ball game. The Raiders must make use of their next possession here.
The Dolphins' defense needed one more stop, and injuries had forced Shula to shuffle his lineup yet again. Number 48, Henry Stuckey, replaced starting cornerback Curtis Johnson.
We were really hurt in our secondary, and people just kept continuing to get hurt. And I was just, trying to figure out who I could put in there that was healthy, that could finish the game for us and not hurt us.
Down by 5, and with Cliff Branch lined up against the backup Stuckey, Stabler called for the bomb.
I don't think that I ever thought there was a backup player over there. It was just, it didn't matter who was over there. Cliff's going to run by him.
Stabler 1st and 10, back again. Going deep to Branch up the left side. Head and head battle. And he makes a diving pass at the 30. He gets up, nobody's touching. He's at the 20. He's at the 10. Touchdown Raiders! The Oakland Coliseum is coming apart here. Cliff Branch made a diving catch, being covered on the play by Stuckey. Stuckey was deep behind it. Branch came back, dived, got up because nobody had touched him. Then he sprinted 20 more yards to score.
When I think back about that football game, the amount of people that we lost during the ball game. I mean, Curtis Johnson gets hurt and he's out, and that's why Henry Stuckey's in the ball game. Jake Scott gets hurt and Charlie Babb's in the ball game. Well, who are the 2 guys that collided after they fell down? Charlie Babb, Henry Stuckey.
Branch got up and ran for a touchdown 60 yards. It was ridiculous. All he had to do was put a hand on him, but just didn't have the experience and wasn't thinking and didn't touch him. Shouldn't have been a touchdown.
And so, the Oakland Raiders, a team that has always had a time bomb hidden in its hip pocket, ready to lay on somebody. Got that time bomb exploded that time on the most incredible catch of the year by Cliff Branch of the Raiders.
3 decades later, one big question about Branch's catch remains.
Did he trap it? Well, let's get the film out. Yeah, he caught it down low. I thought it was a good catch because I remember jumping up and saying, go, go, go. I was yelling for him. So I thought it was a catch. But you never know. Might be a trap.
The play stood, and with just over 4 minutes left, the Raiders had a 2-point lead.
4 minutes and 37 seconds remaining. And the Miami Dolphins, a seasoned team, they've been through it all. They are still not a dead football team, let me remind you of that. And now comes heart-stopping football. The Dolphins, a well-oiled offensive machine, now can't be content just to hang on to the football, and Don Shula knows it. 3 points can win this football game.
With just over 4 minutes left, the Dolphins struck quickly. Two plays into their drive, they were already inside the Raiders' 40-yard line.
They're already in a situation now where they can nibble away to get to the field goal range, but always keep an eye on the possibility of the touchdown. John Madden pacing nervously on the sideline. Breezy under center. Gives the ball to Zonka. Zonka drives to 35, going to the 30, running over people, knocked down at the 23-yard line. Paul Warfield was out in front blocking for him. And now the Dolphins are in field goal range, but they're not even worried about that right now. They know they can get a touchdown if they can find the right combination here and always keep the field goal in the hip pocket as insurance.
We're like, oh no, now they're close enough to use the clock, and your premium's going to ice it.
Oakland needs a big defensive play here, Bill. They need some kind of a hit that might force a fumble because it looks like the Dolphins are just too strong running on the ground.
Benny Malone and the Dolphins squashed any hope of the Raiders' defense making a game-saving play.
Gives to Malone, sends him to the right. He's turning the corner behind Little at the 20, down to the 15. He rams one man out of the way at the 10. He goes all the way. Touchdown, Dolphins! Benny Malone with a startling run of 23 yards. And Miami is back in front, 25-21. Larry Little was in front to clear the way from other would-be tacklers. It was Thomas who appeared to have him stopped, and he just banged him off. Jumped under another tackler and went into the end zone to spike the football. So the Dolphins are back in front. And it took them 2 minutes and 29 seconds to do it. I have only one adjective to describe that sequence. Awesome. Absolutely awesome.
I remember the play like it was yesterday. Yeah, that hurt. That hurt.
They hadn't tried to sweep all day. I said to myself, let me back off, and kind of get a little bit on the inside, figuring I'm going to meet Zonka somewhere in there. Lo and behold, Marv Fleming hooked me so bad. Larry Little got around the end so quick. Here's this Malone running down the sideline, and he scored so quick, there was still time on the clock. So now they didn't wipe out the clock. They didn't kick the field goal. They scored a touchdown. But if we could answer, we could win the game.
The same thought had occurred to many of the Dolphins.
There were a lot of other good plays that we had and I had in my back pocket. And when I saw Benny go around the end, I said, Benny, no, Benny, come back. We've got to take some more time off the clock. He just tears off and goes in, and I'm thinking, we may have scored too soon.
It was almost like we're all over there saying, go down, and boom, he's in and scored. And you look up at the clock and you realize that there's a lot of time on the clock.
I remember after the game, Don Shula was criticized for, scoring too soon, scoring too quickly, which was one of the dumbest criticisms I've ever heard. In football, you never score too soon or too quickly.
How do you tell a player when the end zone's in front of you, don't take it? That's crazy. You got to.
Now with 2 minutes and 8 seconds remaining to play, the Raiders are behind the 8 ball. It's they who must operate with their 2-minute offense as John Madden ponders this from the Oakland sideline.
Well, the snake was, he always had a little something. He always had a little Southern saying. And a lot of times I would say, Snake, use some of the clock. In this situation, I'm sure, Snake, come on, baby. And he would always go, leave it to me. He was just so cool. That's why we called him the Snake. And nobody I would rather have back there at quarterback for this final drive than Kenny Stabler.
Going back to pass. He's looking. He throws. On the top, open at the 50, makes the catch. Down to the 43, he's blocked. And the secondary Stabler back. He looks, steps up in the pocket, throws to Fred. Takes a great pass at the 25. What a pattern. He's knocked down by Babb at the 23. And a quick throw now to Branch. Makes the catch. Gets out of bounds at the 20. Stabler goes to Pitts. He makes the jiggling catch at the 14. Pitts made a great recovery. The ball hit him in the hands, popped up in the air, and he got it back before he was smashed. They give to Davis. Davis drives to the 8-yard line, hitting off the left side, and the Raiders expend their last timeout.
I came off the sidelines, and John's an unmade bed, you know. Kenny, what you want to do? What are we going to do? What, you know, this.
The play was designed for either of the Raiders' two great receivers, Fred Biletnikoff on the right or Cliff Branch on the left. Both would be covered, setting up one of the most improbable finishes in NFL history.
But the Miami Dolphins, great pride, looking to be the first team ever to play in 4 straight Super Bowls and win 3 straight. They are a team that has been through it all, and they know that they could come up with one big play.
I really felt that what we needed was somebody to hit him from the blind side to knock the ball loose, or somebody to hit him as he was throwing. I knew Kenny, if you didn't touch him, they're not going to be stopped.
They are on the 8-yard line, and now 35 seconds are left.
Looking. He's under the gun. Inside, he throws. What a finish. And it's not over yet. 27-26 now.
I didn't know how we were going to get it in. I didn't know what we were going to do. I figured we were going to throw. But never did I figure that Snake was going to pull it down and start running and then flip it. That was unbelievable.
I thought they had him. I thought they had the sack. All of a sudden, as he was going down, I saw him release the football. That ball looked like it was going end over end. And there was no way in hell that anybody was going to catch that thing.
You look at some pictures of that and you think that he just threw it up in there. Then there's one shot where it's from the far end zone, I think it's behind him, and you can see exactly what he saw and what he was doing, and he knew what he was doing.
Amid a sea of hands, Clarence Davis emerged with the football.
Clarence made the play because he wanted the ball more than anybody else, and it was a throw that probably should have been intercepted.
It looked like he might have been lobbing it into the promised land for Miami. But no, Mike Colin couldn't get there. Davis got there first.
I thought I had just a clear interception. I mean, it was just wide open. I had room to put my hands around the ball, and obviously it was at the same time Clarence put his grip on the ball, he was coming toward the ball and had the leverage and obviously a better grip than I had.
When you drew up that play, the last receiver that you would throw it to would have been Clarence Davis.
Clarence was a huge heart, great runner, tough kid, wonderful person, worst hands on the team.
I mean, this guy couldn't catch a cold. That's probably the only pass he caught in his career. It's a lousy pass, lucky reception. I've never forgotten it.
Manny Fernandez arrived at the end of the catch. As Raider fans stormed the field in celebration, Fernandez was ready to make another late hit.
A Raider fan came on the field. As I was standing there, he came over and he punched me in the stomach, and Manny pummeled him to the ground. And if he wasn't pulled off, Manny would have killed him.
Fernandez did that a lot. Sometimes he did that in our locker room. Manny hit people. That's what he did, you know. Manny gets ticked off. He'll hit anybody. Friend or foe, he'll lay you out. He just ticked off at the world.
With 26 seconds left, the Dolphins had one last chance to land a final punch. Phil Villapiano wasn't about to let it happen.
After the penalty on Jim Kick and then getting hooked, I was never playing so hard, trying to win so bad.
Greasy retreats to the left. He goes way up the middle. Intercepted Villapiano at the 50. Time running down. 13 seconds to play. Oakland football. And I think Oakland victory.
I make the pick. A lot of guys were congratulating. Everybody's congratulating ourselves. It was so good. But nobody wanted that game more than John Madden. Nobody deserved it more than John Madden. And I went and gave John the ball, and I'll never forget. He stuck it up in the air. It just looked great. It was a sea of people all around him. What a game. What a game. And it was one of the greatest moments of my life to be part of that game.
Now the Raiders, 3 seconds left. Hubbard runs to the left. Time is out. It's over. Hubbard still on his feet. Smashed by Coleman. The ball game is over. The Miami Dolphins are dethroned. And the Oakland Raiders move to the championship round of the AFC.
I guess Alameda is still the house of miracles, huh? The house of throws. You'll never see a better game than this one, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sure you'll agree. Frankly, it was maybe the greatest football game I have ever seen. It was just incredible.
Raider fans flooded the field as the Dolphins tried to make their way off it.
We fought and battled all afternoon against the Raiders, and then to get in our locker room, literally, we were swinging to get into that tunnel. It was pretty frightening. Those people are nuts out there.
After 3 successive AFC championships and 2 straight Super Bowl titles, the loss to the Raiders ended the Dolphin dynasty. The season was over, and 3 Dolphin icons now belonged to the World Football League.
You just couldn't accept it. You just couldn't believe it. And that's because never in our minds did we think that we weren't going to win that ball game.
It was a bitter defeat and one I've never forgotten and would have really liked to have gone back, separated shoulder and all, to try to get another Super Bowl ring.
I cried like a baby after that game, and that game was the most disappointing game of my life, because it did stop the dream, and we also knew that our team as we knew it wouldn't be the same anymore.
In the locker room after the game, and then the bus ride to the airport and that long flight across country, you're thinking, you know, I was really part of something special, and I think it just ended out there today.
Shula coached 20 more seasons, became the game's winningest coach, but never won another Super Bowl. After the World Football League folded in 1976, Zonka returned to the NFL with the Giants, Warfield with the Browns, and Kick with the Broncos. But their presence was still felt in Miami.
Being around those guys, I learned so much about how to be a professional, how not to get caught up in the rah-rah, but to come to work every day like a professional, understand what your job description is, and work hard at making sure you hold up your end of the bargain. And to this day, I give credit for my success for the 13 years I played to that team and those guys.
After ending the Dolphins' dynasty, the Raiders were poised to build their own legacy.
It should have propelled us to be that great football team, the next great football team. Who became that next great team? It was the Steelers.
The Steelers won 4 of the next 6 Super Bowls and upset the Raiders in the 1974 AFC Championship. The Raiders may have won Super Bowl 8.5, but they never made it to Super Bowl 9.
Everyone wants to talk about the memories. I guess that the things that stand out with me were the defeats, the agony of defeat. To see a hands catch that day was a day of glory, but also, to be honest with you, in the back of my mind, I remember the fact that we could have won a Super Bowl that year.
In 1976, the Raiders finally broke through and won Super Bowl 11. That season, Kenny Stabler solidified his reputation as one of the game's great clutch quarterbacks.
Stabler rolling to the left. He's going to go. Woo! Wins it in. Kenny Stabler, touchdown Oakland.
In 1977, his 4th down completion to Dave Casper in a playoff game against the Colts led to an overtime victory and earned the name the Ghost to the Post. In 1978, Stabler produced another one of the game's great miracle finishes, the Holy Roller.
Stabler back. Here comes the rush. He sidesteps. Can he throw? He can't. The ball flipped forward is loose. A wild scramble. 2 seconds on the clock. Casper grabbing the ball. It is ruled a fumble. Casper has recovered in the end zone. The Oakland Raiders have scored on the most zany, unbelievable, absolutely impossible dream of a play.
I've been blessed to being able to play in some games that have had memorable plays, you know. And in most of them, we found a way. You know, we didn't find a way in Pittsburgh with the Immaculate Reception. They found a way. But in these other games, it was always that kind of attitude, and it was never really spoken and never really said in the huddle or at practice. It's just kind of a belief that we all had. Go do your job, go do what you're supposed to do, and somebody will find a way to win.
In no game was that more true than the 1974 AFC Divisional Playoffs and the Sea of Hands. Three decades after his game-winning catch, Clarence Davis still has the ball firmly in his grasp.
That's how much I want it. I want it a lot more than them.
Davis holds on to the ball. Davis holds on to the ball. Everyone else holds on to the memory.
every time that I reflected on that game, you know, it was just like a nightmare to me, you know. Denner having him by the ankles, you know, the quarterback sack on the way, Stabler falling down, the ball going end over end, thinking that we're going to intercept the ball or surely knock it down, and then Clarence Davis making the catch. It's just, it's a nightmare that still lives with me.
When he threw that, I mean, as a coach, you're thinking, you know, good, you see a pass, then you see the rush come on, and you say, oh, no, you know, don't take a sack, and then you see him get rid of it, oh, good, you get rid of it, and then you see all those dogs, you go, oh, gee, he threw it right into him, and then Clarence Davis catches it. So the whole game was a roller coaster, but that play, if you look at that play, was a roller coaster. You're up and down, and pretty soon guys are carrying you off the field, and you have no idea what the hell you just did.